She's a homemaker, don't you know? She'll teach you how to cook and sew, and how to wield a hammer. It's the June the Homemaker Show.
Hello and welcome to the June the Homemaker Show. I'm your host, June the Homemaker.
And I'm her assistant, Sally Soubrette.
And today we are going to be making an apple pie. Something you should have learned to make from your mother long ago, but you didn't, did you? Because you were away being a heathen. You were away from home learning the ways of drugs and fast women.
Befriending hoodlums.
Loving a cat. And you never thought you would have another way to learn, would you? But here we are. If your mom didn't teach you, June the Homemaker can.
That's true, she can.
She sure can.
She sure can.
Yep. Or we'll learn how to do that thing and then teach you. Or if she can't learn how to do that thing, then you won't see it on the show.
First, find some strapping young fellows to serve as minions in your pie escapade.
Say, you look like strapping young fellows. Would you like to help make a pie?
Oh, June.
First, you get your minion to cut up the apples for you. We don't have an apple corer today, so we're quartering the apples, that is, cutting them into quarters. Then cutting the cores out, then cutting off the peel of the apple and cutting them into nice small pieces and putting them in this bowl. So now that our minion have cut up the apples for us, we're going to put in a little bit of lemon juice for tartness and a cup of sugar. Generally, you can use a large spoon to toss them, or I kind of like just using my hands. And then while I'm doing this, lovely Sally will, in fact, put in just a bunch of ground cinnamon, and that looks about right. Then a whole lot of pumpkin pie spice, which, if you're not familiar with pumpkin pie spice, contains
cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, allspice, and sulfiting agents.
Now, Sally here likes to use cloves also in her apple pie.
I do.
However,
I also grind all my own spices myself in my own kitchen.
Back in her time warp in the 1950s.
One of the best things about making pie, I think, is that it's all love and guesswork.
If you exactly measure things and go exactly by someone's arbitrary recipe, it won't taste like you've loved it enough. So love it, but that's a lot of spice.
I'm loving it enough.
One of the most difficult things to do when you're making a pie is the pastry making, which I don't understand. I mean, we have a pastry cutter on the ceiling. So what we have in this pot, we're using pots because we don't have bowls, is a little more than 2 cups of flour, a dash of salt, and a little bit of baking powder because we think that that's right. And then we are going to cut that together with 2 sticks of butter. Sally likes to use a pastry cutter. I prefer my hands because I like to cook with as few utensils as possible usually. You're going to want your butter to be soft but not melty. We've had our butter sitting out for a while. If you do not have the time for that, then you can use a microwave, but my advice about that is you can always microwave it more, but once it is melted, you cannot in fact make it be solid again. That is weird and terrible.
Although I put it in the freezer before.
Really?
For small amounts of time. And then sometimes you forget it's in the freezer.
And instead you use another stick of butter on the pie, and then you don't find it until you're looking for the vodka bottles.
Or the bottle of bad blush wine.
I froze a bottle of blush wine in the freezer once.
I remember that.
When it looks sort of like there are little balls of butter and flour everywhere, and it sort of sticks together, but it sort of doesn't, then it is time to put some water in. Recipes will give you teaspoon measures, and they are never ever right. So just toss some water on in there. And the deal is you can always put in more water. And if you put in too much water, then you can add some flour, but if you do that too many times, then your pastry gets floury-y. So the goal is to be as good as possible the first time around.
Do you want some more water? Or some barefoot white Zinfandel?
Okay, listen, enough with the barefoot white. I pronounced my days of $4 Magnum bottles of wine. Those memories haunt me still.
We're going to drown those memories in a darn good pie.
We are. Drowning in pie is much, much better than drowning in alcohol. And actually, you won't get as fat. So now Sally is going to roll one of the crusts of our double crust pie and make it in a circular pattern as Sally is doing. And you're going to roll it out with a rolling pin on a floured surface so the dough won't stick to it. This is the pan that we're using, so we want to make it cover that pan. I'm going to say 1/8 of an inch to 1/16 of an inch thick.
And little holes will come up as you roll, inevitably. You just sort of patch them together
With water sometimes, or with
water
just your
sometimes,
fingers.
or just the amount of dough that you make will make a coherent pie crust for
8-inch pie, 9-inch pie. We're using a cake pan. I mean, because it's what we have.
punk rock pie class.
Now we are punk rock buttering the pie pan. Basically what we've done is taking a stick of butter and colored in the pie pan like a crayon until it is this lovely greasy buttery sort of color. Sprinkle some flour in there so that it does not stick in a horrible way. If you have trouble getting your pie crust into the pie pan, you may roll your pie crust onto your rolling pin and then roll it out over the pan. I am going to put the apples in the bottom crust while Sally makes the top crust. Now,
This pie crust may have been unevenly divided.
hey, I divided it perfectly. Don't give me any crap. And I dropped an egg on the floor.
We're doing well.
If you find that there is too much pastry on the sides of your pie, then you can cut it off with a small knife. Make a cute little design just by pinching your little fingers together as you go all the way around.
Like this?
Oh, no. Who was your mother while you were away being a heathen?
Well, also, I'm accustomed to making pies in pie pans.
Also, I'm accustomed to making pies wherever the hell I'm allowed to make a pie. Okay, so if you pinch your fingers together like this, then you get a pie that someone did instead of a pie that someone sort of rolled up and put in a cake pan. And then if you find that some of the little parts don't have enough of the pie crust, you can take your little leftover bits of pie crust and stick them in opportune places. Because pie crust sticks anywhere with water.
And how did you find this out, June the Homemaker?
When I started making pie. Actually, I met a man in Canada who rode a motorcycle and told me also to stick things to other things.
I'm going to put my fingers in this egg, which is gross. Then you drizzle it sort of on top of your pie.
If by drizzle you mean
If by
rub
drizzle
awkwardly.
you mean...
Oh God, that feels so weird. Oh boy. And then we're gonna put some sugar on it? Is that the idea?
I feel like
So I'm going to sprinkle some sugar on it. And then, look, we have a sugar sprinkled top. Once your oven has succeeded in preheating to 375, you can
actually more like 368.
You can put a little design at the top of your pie and sort of prepare it for going in the oven while your minion makes you dinner. We are going to draw an apple, because it's an apple pie. Here's the apple, and there's a little stem, and the leaf is coming off like that. There's your June the Homemaker voice. I'm going to have little strips of aluminum foil to put over your crust so that it does not burn in the oven. Aluminum foil doesn't get terribly hot in the oven, although it does get sort of hot, so you can sort of rip it off carefully while your pie is doing its last few minutes of cooking, and then they will be deliciously golden brown. We have had our pie in the oven for around about an hour.
Somewhere around 53 minutes.
The important thing about judging when a pie is ready to come out of the oven, the top should be sort of golden brown, and the edges should also sort of be a golden brown. So we started checking on the pie at about 30 minutes, and then we sort of judged by our judginess when it would be ready to come out.
The taller the pie, the more the apples inside. The longer it needs to cook for so that the apples inside can get nice and soft.
That looks really beautiful and juicy and delicious. And there it is, and you can even see the little apple on top. So that's how to make a punk rock apple pie in a cake pan.
That actually turns out pretty darn good.
Turns out pretty well. So this is June the Homemaker signing off, folks.